Good afternoon. I am your host, Rhea Sylvia. Welcome back to day 2 of Game Gym's end of summer bash. Yesterday, I hope you joined us. It was a jam-packed day. We had some really exciting speakers. We had some fast action smash competitions. And as I learned from TK Breezy yesterday, those moves are measured in frames. So that's something I learned yesterday. Let's see what I'm going to learn today, because we are going to jump straight into more exciting and interesting interviews. And today we are going to start off with Mr. Jake Brodsky, who is the executive content producer for the Washington Justice. So welcome, Jake. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you, Rhea?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for asking. I am super excited to be here. I don't know if you caught any of the show yesterday, but we learned a lot, and I'm excited to learn about content creation today, because we heard from some streamers, which was more about, how do you get yourself psyched to go on camera? And this is sort of the back end of it, like, how do you make it look good? So I'm super psyched to learn about that.
Exactly, yeah.
But first, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into content creation.
Yeah, so I kind of worked my way into it through social, which I feel like happens a lot. So in college, I was studying journalism, and then going into my senior year, I had an internship with Monumental Sports, the company that owns the Wizards and Capitals and stuff, doing social for one of their properties on arena football and WNBA. And it was a fun summer. And that summer, the NBA 2K League was announced. I'd never really thought about esports before then. And then when that was announced, I played 2K. Who didn't back then? And I was like, if you ever need anyone to do social for this or anything this summer, let me know. And then I never heard back, but then there was a job posted, maybe February of my senior year. So I applied to it. I ended up starting there like a month before I graduated college, and I was doing strictly social. But one of the things I said on my resume was I know how to edit some video. And since they were a production company for the entity, basically, they broadcasted a whole bunch of things: arena football, WNBA, local slam poetry, high school sports. And so a lot of what I ended up doing was taking all of that content and cutting it into social and doing stuff like that for them. And then I also did social for Wizards DG of the NBA 2K League. And this is kind of when the Overwatch League is really getting big. Things are blowing up. So that's obviously something you're looking at. And then my boss ends up leaving Wizards DG to go help run the Justice. And I was like, okay, that was cool. Switched jobs a little bit later. At my next job, I had to pick up productions and start filming and things like that. And then COVID hits and I'm not working. And pretty much all I'm doing is highlight videos for high school football players, college football players, one or two NFL guys, and photo shoots and stuff like that. And then that's how I spent my time. And I didn't really have those skills before then besides photography, but I really used the pandemic to buckle down on that. And then come November, my old boss from Wizards DG messages me and is saying that they're going to have an opening for their social position. And I'm like, sure, let me know where to apply. I apply, I go through the interviews, I end up getting that. And that's kind of how I got into esports in the Overwatch League. And what drove that kind of path was when you're social, you're posting so much of other people's work. And you just think about this is what I would have wanted to do. This is how I would have wanted to do it. And so you kind of pick up those skills along the way. And I feel like social is really a gateway to either the creative side of things or the marketing side of things. And it's where you want to take it and make it.
That was an excellent background. Thank you so much. And there's a lot to unpack there. One thing that I noticed is that, you were playing NBA 2K, right? But you ended up doing a lot of stuff for Overwatch, obviously. So it's interesting to hear that there's a lot of crossover, right? Because yesterday, we heard from TK Breezy that to be a commentator, you really need to buckle down and learn one game. But it's also good to hear that there is variety in the sports industry, and that if you go to the content side of things, the specific game doesn't matter as much, and you can work on a different types of games. So that's really interesting.
Definitely, yeah.
So what's your favorite part of the job right now? Well, actually tell us your day to day, like a day in your life at your work, and then your favorite part of that day.
Yeah, of course. One of the things that I really enjoy about my job right now is that it kind of swaps based on the day, just kind of because of my role. So currently, I do like about half of the editing for the staff, I want to say, pretty much all of our filming and photography, because I'm the one who's based in DC. I manage our designers and like assign out all our design stuff and kind of do that. And then I also help with social where needed. And so there can be days where like my job is just completely general marketing and I'm like designing PowerPoints for sponsorship partners, or there are other days where like I get to go and film What Do You Meme on YouTube live with the guys and like have the special set of rules to make it a bit easier because the cards are all in English and they all speak Korean, and kind of figure out how to do all that. So definitely one of my favorite parts is just the variety, but I think game days have to be the best part because nothing beats that feel of going into a place, and obviously it's much better when it's like a packed stadium and like everyone is hype and you can feel the energy in the air, but just like trying to capture the emotions and like tell that story of what's going on a game day and like give that feeling to the fans is something that I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, I bet, during the pandemic, you haven't had too many chances to go in and do the live part of it, um, which is unfortunate. So hopefully we'll get back to that soon. But so when you're talking, so it sounds like there's a lot of variety. Is there like an overarching theme or goal or like feeling that the justice is trying to attain with their content production?
Yeah, so our goal has been to be everyone. If we can't be your first favorite team because the Overwatch League is regionalized and you're going to root for your hometown team, we want to be everyone's second favorite team at least. With a lot of our social, we've tried to implement memes and be like, not like an edgy and a toxic kind of mean way, but like kind of an edgier, funnier, like just like less conventional team social voice this past season. And I think that it's paid dividends. When we started the Justice, we had the least Twitter followers in the league at kind of just because we were an expansion team. They didn't really play too well. This year, we've passed, I want to say, 5 or 6 different teams in following. And we've that's been our like biggest goal, is just to make content that people enjoy and make them think, okay, like I like the Justice. I want to root for them. I want this team to do well because I like their branding.
Did you ever think going through journalism school that your job would be how to meme better than another organization?
No, I definitely didn't. This this is one thing that like the journalism school side of me I never got to do, and I feel like it kind of almost, I don't want to say stunted my growth, because there are definitely people who do this in content through journalism, but like I tried to be really straight-laced reportery, and like I'd have fun on my own Twitter, but like I'd never really meme too hard or anything like that, and you have to kind of shift that perspective. And luckily, I've had a few years in the industry now to do it. And I also have the journalism background to fall back on and like, no, like, all right, this is something where we can go fake live. This is something where like we're not gonna fudge it. We want it to be real, blah, 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 and kind of use those skills and decision making, but like have fun with it now.
That's interesting. So I mostly asked the question as a joke, but it sounds like some folks in journalism school did like use memes
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
as part of their assignments. Okay, I didn't know that.
It's
I thought it was all very straight laced.
I my school, they actually just got rid of, after I graduated. They used to split it between TV reporting and like print reporting. And
Hmm.
now it's just all one, and they want you to learn skills from everything and like be an internet age reporter who like
Mm,
has those old school journalism ethics, but like is built to succeed in the modern environment.
hmm, hmm. That's interesting. Well, it's good that they shifted because it's
Yeah,
definitely more helpful to the students.
definitely.
So, okay, so the overarching theme is be at least your second favorite team. I like that.
Exactly.
If you can be entertaining, that's all you got to be. Is there any kind of goal specifically for content? I don't know if you're trying to, make more videos or more instructional videos, more, is there any kind of push for any kind of specific type of content?
We're really trying to figure out what is hitting best with our audience right now. And that's kind of like our goal with this season, because we've changed how the staff is composed. And like one of the important things in this industry is you have to work with what you have. And like I think coming into the year, we had some really, really ambitious goals. But like if you look at the teams in the Overwatch League who have like incredible YouTube pages, it's because they have 2 to 4 editors devoted just to those YouTube pages and churning out content. And so you have to really look at what you can do. And so what we've really tried to do is come out with content that lets our players who are all Korean speaking still feel approachable to our mostly English speaking audience. So we try and subtitle everything, while which lets our players feel more comfortable, but it also lets us give like the fans an inside glimpse of things. And then we're just trying to see within that what really identifies. We're seeing whether YouTube lives hit more, and that's kind of the direction you have to go. Is it's not so much what you want to make, it's what people want to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the way you go about it. I think it's really important because esports is so diverse if you look on a global level. So the fact that your organization is trying both to make, on Korean speaking players comfortable while also making English speaking audiences entertained, you're respecting both sides of this. And I think that's a really good way to go about it, like that.
Yeah, that was
I-
definitely something important to us when
Mhm.
we signed the all Korean roster.
Absolutely. Now you mentioned that other teams might have a lot of YouTube videos, and it's because they have, 4 full-time editors. I think some people don't realize just how time-consuming content creation is. Can you give us a little bit of a behind the scenes? Like, what does it take to make even a highlight reel, let's say, for Facebook or Twitter, or a 5-minute video for YouTube?
Yeah, a 5 minute YouTube video with our team, if we're just like taking, say, one of our post match recaps and we're trying to cut it down into 5 minutes. So that's an entire day of me filming at the facility, because they don't speak English. So I don't know what they're talking about when I'm filming them. And I just kind of have to film everything then and like hope I end up catching interesting moments and stuff. And then, so we do that, we film the gameplay. We then have to go through the game a second time to cut all the highlights from the individual moment. We have an intern with us on game days who's his only job on game days is to keep a time log of every highlight moment and when it happens from when the first map starts. And this stuff would take so much longer if we didn't have multiple people working on every step. So then one of our social producers who also edits will then download the game, cut the intern's highlights. I'll go through my footage from the day, upload it to our translator. It takes her about a day, day and a half to translate everything. It takes me about a day to go cut through everything and color correct everything. And it takes our social person about a day to go through and do all that. So now we're game day, say that's Sunday. Monday, we go through and do all that. Tuesday is when she can start like pulling down music and doing all that and like building the actual final product. And so our goal was to get those up by Wednesday every week. And that's a 5 to 10 minute post game recap where admittedly we have a lot of different parts in it, but when you have to factor in time to translate, time to subtitle, time to color correct, and then also figuring out how to build a narrative with your content, it's really, really time consuming. And that's not counting like other videos. There's front end pre-production, there's shoot time, there's reshoot time, and yeah, definitely something that people don't realize. You're like, boop, slap it together, let it rip.
Yeah, no, I understand that's not how it is, but I didn't know that it, takes 4 to 5 days. That's a great amount of time for a 5-minute video. And I mean, to be fair, those videos look great, but that's a really helpful insight into just how long it takes to create a quality piece of content.
Yeah, and one of the things again to keep in mind is like part of the reason it takes that long for us is we all have other responsibilities on top of like those productions responsibilities. So like that person who's editing is also doing social. I'm also like doing whatever stuff they need me to do on a given day. Our translator is also there helping with scrims and stuff like that. And so that's where resources and stuff come into play, because like if you want to, you can make two people stay up all night and they can work through the night and probably have it done by like the next afternoon. And that's something that you might do for like the Owl Grand Finals or like the in-person playoffs in Dallas, but it's about managing resources and making sure everyone can get everything done in a given amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a balancing game if all of you are wearing multiple hats, definitely.
Yeah.
So so that sounds like, you know, one of the challenges you're facing is just maybe the number of resources, the number of persons working on this. Were there any kind of specific challenges that you encountered because of the pandemic and having to do a lot of this remote?
So I actually started around Thanksgiving with the Justice, and
Mhm.
luckily that was on the back end of the pandemic.
Mm.
But our biggest challenge was the players were in Korea for the off season. And so we had to find a way to make compelling content with them all overseas and none of them having webcams. And so we ended up shipping one of our players a webcam.
Okay, I was gonna
Um,
ask, can you just send them a webcam?
yeah, we sent him a webcam, but they also just hate being on. We don't have the most social team. They hate being on camera. All they want to do is play Overwatch.
Okay, I don't
Um,
know why I find that so surprising because you know, just because you're a gamer or even a professional player, it doesn't mean you like being on camera, but for some reason that
oh,
surprised
I
me when you
cannot
said
tell
that.
you about the battles that we have had over their like stream overlays. We put a little webcam box like right
Yes,
there.
yes.
Yeah, with the sponsors under it. So I did that. I built them together to make them use their webcams. Um,
They just turn it
they
off.
they turn it off. They point it on their hand. They put it at
Oh,
the wall. We have a co-branded beer that Fury will put up in front of it sometimes, which is like at least a sponsor, I guess. But like the battles we have had over trying to get them to stream with Facecam, it's insane.
is there anything in particular specific that really works to convince them? Do you have like some sort of reward? Like, okay, if you stream for an hour with the
Honestly,
webcam on.
we've given up on it. Just in season, it's one of those battles where like if we can just get them to stream, this is actually probably the biggest challenge we've faced, is just the grind of an Overwatch season while also trying to get them to do content.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
I don't know if you followed the Justice's season at all, but we've kind of been an up and down team. And so, especially dealing with the downs in the team and then trying to be like, do you want to stream on Tuesday night when you don't even have to come to work because we didn't make the next tournament or plans or whatever? And they'll just be like, not really. And I'll be like,
Yeah.
uh, okay. Yeah, it's definitely been something, but that's kind of where we end up saying, okay, stream, but no face cam. And then they're like, okay, we'll stream. That way we're at least getting something.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's really interesting. You know, I never thought about it that way. You know, I'm sure that there's so many challenges when it comes to content production, but I never thought about, you know, the star of your content being like, I don't really want to be in that photo or in that video. So
And you
that's
just
an
also
interesting
have to
challenge.
deal with like the mood towards your team.
Mm-hmm.
Content is so much easier when the team is winning
Mm,
because fans always want to share stuff. And one of the things that I think we've done a really good job of is being okay with memeing ourselves. We had I don't know if you know like the meme with the guy popping champagne.
yes.
We went 1-3 in our last stage and won the last match of the stage and ended up doing very poorly in it. But we didn't get swept through the stage. We won a match. So we tweeted that meme after we won, and it was like us celebrating our win to go 1-3 this stage. And it did pretty well on social. And that's the kind of approach you have to have, is you have to be able to roll with the punches and laugh at yourself. And if you can do that, then fans will appreciate when you're like just on that edge of BM when you're winning and doing well, and it kind of builds that fun environment.
Yeah, I do think it's really important to be able to laugh at yourself. At the end of the day, we're playing games and it is very serious, when you're playing competition, when you're playing a championship, but you still have to keep that sort of lighthearted mood and entertainment going. So I absolutely understand
Definitely.
that. That makes sense. Now, what advice would you have for somebody who's looking to get into content creation? Is there maybe here's the first three steps? If somebody's just starting from scratch, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, if you're starting from scratch, one of the biggest things I would say is work on everything. Even if you want to work in esports, like everything you create is a chance to get better. And the more you create and force yourself to create, the better you become at creating. It's almost like a muscle like that in that way. Because you just start thinking and seeing things in a different way as you're creating. And then I would say focus on editing to start, and then you can pick up shooting, because if you just go out and teach yourself to shoot, you might not know what exactly you're looking for. But if you learn to edit and then shoot, and like you can have the eye, which is just like you can know what looks good or you don't. But if you learn to edit and you learn what shots you want as an editor, then it becomes a lot easier to look for them. And it's kind of a cheat to, even if you're not like naturally someone who has that eye and can frame things well and do that, you just start looking at all these other things that look good and thinking, okay, this is what I wanted in my project. Now let's learn how to go capture that content. And it's kind of, it lets you build your way up to it. And then after that, I would just say work on as many different things as possible. During the pandemic, before I was with Justice, I was doing high school football. I was shooting sneakers for friends who were sneaker resellers. I was doing social for a catering company. And all of these, there are a lot of ways to make money as a freelancer really, really quickly if you build up the skills and talent. And it doesn't have to be something that you do as your main thing. You can do it on the side while like earning money and get really good at it, and then try and parlay that into something through one of these connections that you've made. And just like cold call people, hit up a local restaurant, ask to do a shoot for them once you feel like you've done it. And if you cold call someone, offer to do it for free, and they'll give you creative control, and they're much more likely to say yes. And once you've done it for free, you can take it to someone and like pitch it as a business and start making money for it. And just, yeah, like don't box yourself into just esports, even if esports is where you want to end up, because it's one of those things where talent is universal, and talent and luck are what you need. And you need to make as many connections as possible.
So it's a little bit of networking, a little bit of building up that portfolio. So,
Yeah.
like you said, maybe even do a restaurant, you did sneakers, even if you want to get into the esports side of things.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
helpful
Like
advice.
you can edit frag reels for yourself, for your friends. Definitely engage with those communities, because I know esports creatives are like very tight knit, but don't box yourself in and think because I can't get a job with a T1 esports org, I'm not good, because you can end up building something really good for yourself and then parlay that into that job. And instead of like being an entry level video person, go in as like a producer with experience and like have actual like skills that you can bring to them, rather than going in and like trying to learn and get good while you're there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the good news is that a lot of the esports organizations are growing. They're at
Yeah.
very beginning stages right now. I mean, you guys, it sounds like have like 1.5 persons working on production. So
Yeah,
the
exactly.
the organizations are definitely going to be hiring. So you don't need to feel like you have to get in right now.
Hmm.
You can feel like you have a little bit of time to get that experience and then jump in.
Definitely, definitely.
That makes sense. So what next for Washington Justice content creation? Do you have any goals for the future, or any things that you'd like to see done differently, added on, anything that you think would be cool?
Yeah. One of the things that I think would be really, really cool for us, and we're definitely going to be looking into this off season. So anyone watching, like hit me up if this is you, but we're really looking into like someone who is in the DMV and is a video editor who speaks Korean. And if they're not in the DMV, like whatever, still hit me up. But if we were able to find a Korean editor or a Korean camera person who would be able to film stuff, then we think that would be how we could get the next step in our content, because they'd be able to be much more efficient with their shoot. It'd cut like a day and a half out of the editing process, because they'd be able to translate it and subtitle it as they edit through it. And it'll just give our fans that like next level of access of, there's someone behind the camera who can actually like interact with our players and prompt them. And like, I talk to our players and they do, bless their hearts, they try so hard with their English, and like some of them it's really good, and some of them are 18 years old and leaving Korea for the first time and it's not as good, and our translator does a great job. But I think just giving them that level of comfort with the
Mhm.
person behind the camera and the editor knowing like what's going on would really help take our stuff to the next level. And then we just want to keep looking into the content that resonates with our fans and doing more of that.
That sounds great. Well, it sounds like you are on a great path. And Jake, you sound so knowledgeable and so chill. Like I feel like the content creation of Justice is in really good hands.
I
So
appreciate that.
thank you so much for joining us here.
Of
Unfortunately,
course.
that's all the time we have, but we really appreciate you coming on, sharing your experience with us, sharing that sneak peek of behind the scenes content production. And if you are interested in being a video editor and you speak Korean, hit up Jake. Jake, what's the
Yeah,
best way to
definitely.
reach out to you?
Just DM me on Twitter at Brodsky Sauce, Brodsky Sauce. Shoot me a
Excellent.
DM. We'll talk. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much again. And we will be back after a short break with Kyle Taylor from Stay Plugged In. Thank you so
Have a
much.
great day, everyone.